Alright, so here we are. This is part number 2. So we're going to go ahead and clean up these. I've already started a little bit. So we got just some little cracks. We got this stuff we're going to have to take care of. I had a crack along here. Also got one over there. So we're working with fiberglass, so you want to have this stuff. I'm going to have some safety glasses. Might be smart. I don't know. Call me crazy. So what we're going to do to start is, we've done a lot of research, and the best way I can find so far is what you got to do is with these cracks, they're not a big deal. I got my little Dremel. I'm sure there's a lot of other tools you could probably use. It's just a matter of getting this crack. You want to get all that stuff out of there because you want to get that resin down in there. So this, I should have started in the beginning, but I kind of forgot for a minute. So, but there's another one on the other side that's just like it, so we'll see how that one works. So basically it was a crack just down the side, and so I'm just getting all that loose crap out of there, and then, you know, we'll kind of smooth it out. So, here we go. So that's looking pretty good, I think. So basically what I did was I just kept grinding until I didn't see any remnants of the crack anymore. So basically you'll keep, as you grind, you'll still see the little crack, and I just kept going until I couldn't see the crack anymore. So we'll probably run a little bit of fiberglass behind there and then build it up a little bit in there with the resin. Still see a little bit of this crack left, so we'll trace it back. You still see a little bit of crack in there, so I'm going to keep going. So I think the kind of the accepted way of doing it is basically you get all the loose stuff out of where the chip is, you get like right in the chip, and then you kind of work out a broad area around it for the fiberglass resin to attach to, or to adhere to, I should say. So I've kind of done that. There's a couple small ones over here, and like I said, I just got all that loose stuff out, and then I just kind of did a broad area around it. Some of these are real small. This would be pretty easy. I could probably get away with doing filler there, but I'm going to try to do the resin so I can be real strong and try to do it as professional as possible. So the next thing in line is this thing right here. I think this is a little different. Now, I guess, I don't know, I'm starting to think. There's no strong cracks coming up here, so I guess if I really wanted to, it's just these outer layers. I don't know, I was thinking about cutting all this off and redoing it. But I'm starting to think all this backing is really strong. It's just the very tip part. So you know what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to grind off all this and see how it looks. Maybe I could just fill it in with the resin and call it good. Let's see. Yeah. Yeah, some of this stuff is pretty, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and do it like I originally was going to. So I'm just going to cut off this whole section right here, and then we're going to redo that. There we go. So, it kind of crazy to do that, but yeah. I mean, it was chipped all the way through on the bottom end. Seems like there's, yeah. So we'll just seems like there's a padding right there. I'll have to get that padding out of the way, but we'll just have to put some new fiberglass down right there. I think that's the best way to do that. It's going to be the strongest, most, you know. And this is the next crack. Hopefully you can see that good. I think you can. It's still strong, but I don't have to worry about it bending around or nothing. It's just a stress crack right on the gel coat on the outside. So just in case you're wondering, this is kind of what I'm using. It's kind of like a square one, but it's got a little bit of a tapered edge right here. So it kind of can just do like a soft V, I guess you'd say. I don't know. It's working pretty good so far. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to start at one end of the crack, and I'm just going to work down that crack all the way until I see the crack end. So I'm going to start on this end. Okay, now at this point, once you're through, you can kind of look at it, and in the bottom of that groove, if you still see the crack, you need to go a little bit lower, which I think I see the crack starting here and ending about here, so I'm going to get that a little better. Okay, that's good. I don't see the crack anymore. I think we're looking good. Real good, actually. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to soften up these edges and kind of get a little out further. Okay, now this is actually even more than a lot of people I've seen online go. Usually when they do it, they just do the crack. They don't soften it up like that. So that might be completely unnecessary. I don't know. It just seems like it makes sense to me to get a little bigger surface area for it to adhere to, because it's not going to adhere on the paint very well. So I think that's pretty much it for this side. See, so here's a little chip. I'll show you how I'm doing that. Just clean it out real good right there, and then just kind of work your way out. Work away around a little section. So I cleaned out that one little gouge, and then I just opened up a little section around it for the stuff to... Same thing here. Gotta make sure you guys can see that okay. So this corner's all chipped out. Then 80 grit, and I just went through there and kind of cleaned it up. So the next step, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to mix the resin. So I'll show you that. So let's put this in a stupid spot where it'll probably fall over. I like these little rags. You can get them at Home Depot. They're lint free for they're good for painting and stuff like that. Disposable, but they're like cloth. They're pretty sweet. So I like these. They're kind of soft, but anything will work. Towel, rag, whatever, it doesn't matter. So I got some acetone here. We're going to get some on there. Put the lid on before we spill the rest of it. Bam. And we're just going to go over all this stuff. Get all that crap out of there the best we can. Prepare it for that resin. They say you can also use lacquer thinner if you have lacquer thinner. I've never really used lacquer thinner too much. I like acetone. Rubbing alcohol works on some stuff. No one said rubbing alcohol on this, so I've just got me some acetone. So this will get all the dust out of there. Okay, so I figure you guys kind of want to see what are we getting here. So I did a lot of research, and it seems like this stuff's all high quality. I mean, well, in terms of this is 3M. I never realized Bondo was made by 3M. Huh, all this time I've been working on cars and I did not realize that. 3M is a good company. They make good stuff. So this is what's called a polyester resin. There's also a vinyl ester resin, and there is an epoxy resin. So this is the cheapest of the three, but from all my research, everyone says that most everything is made out of this polyester, and it works well. It's strong, it has good adhesive properties, it holds out water very well. So, I mean, you can go pay a whole bunch of money for more expensive stuff, but from my research, you don't need to. Also, if it's an epoxy resin, this the poly if I'm sorry, if it's an epoxy resin, the polyester resin will not stick to it right. So it's good to know if you have an epoxy resin, because if you have epoxy resin, then you want to use epoxy resin. That's the only caveat to the more expensive stuff. But like I said, from what I understand, most of the stuff that we deal with is polyester. This, anyways. So this was $15 Walmart. Comes with the hardener in there. This is the fiberglass mat. I think this was like $5. So there's fiberglass mat, and there's also fiberglass like cloth. From my research, it's not best to use the cloth for this type of job, and we'll see why later. You kind of shred it in the when I'm doing the resin. You kind of shred it into it and make like a paste out of it. And there's other ways, but generally in everything I've seen, they recommend the mat and not the cloth. And then some stuff like this. So these were like 4 for 80 cents or something like that, because you're probably going to use it once and then you're probably never going to use it again. Once it dries, you don't want to deal with that. Same thing with these. These things were like 25 cents each. Same thing with the paintbrushes. Super cheap paintbrushes, 50 cents each. And anticipated for a one-time use, because I don't know how you're going to get that crap out of there. I don't know why you'd want to try. So, and then also I got the sandpaper. I think this was $6 or something like that. This has a little of everything. It's got the 80, the 180, 400. I think to prep for the paint we go 400. I was just using 80 to clean out stuff, and then you'd probably just work your way gradually up until you're 400 ready to paint. So let's see how this works out. So this is the thing where I saw the seemed like, so this is why we get the mat and not the thing. We don't cut, we tear. So we're going to shred this up. And put it in here. We're going to make like a resin soup. Alright, well, here goes nothing. I'll be honest, it doesn't look like this is going to be real easy. This is how I did it, though. It's a nice thing about watching these type of situations is you can see people like me do it all wrong and be all stupid, and then you can learn from the mistakes. So plus, it's a lot easier if you can do it on a flat situation. But from what he said, it doesn't matter if it's all over the paint or whatever. It's not gonna. It just peels off the paint, so it's like whatever. It'd be nice if it was a little bit more solid, but this is pretty much like what he did. And it looks just like liquid, but I can see the fibers in there. I can see it moving around, so I know they're in there. And I know it's doing its job. I will try to get some of this stuff off the area where I don't want it. One thing about fiberglass that I've learned, even just before I've started, obviously, definitely learning right now, but it's messy. It's a messy process. There ain't nothing pretty or there's nothing pretty about it. It's a messy, ugly process, but it's okay. That don't bother me none. So the point is, the key is trying to get all this stuff done before it dries up on you. That's where we're at on that. I'm trying to get it. See, now these little guys, I don't know, I mean, you could probably get away with just putting some body filler on there. It'd be good to go, but I'm trying to do it like, trying to do it the best I can. I want it to be real good. Maybe it's overkill. Yeah, so if you haven't noticed yet, I ramble a lot. So the key is like trying to get some of that fiber in there. It all wants to kind of clump up. So this is the good one right here. Look at this. We want to get all that stuff in there. I want to get a clump of that fiber in that really big, ugly one. And we might have to do a couple coats because it's not going to want to stay on there very well. Oh, look, that's pretty cool. So the fiberglass kind of, the fiber in there kind of clumps up, but once you get it on, it kind of spreads. It kind of like you can spread it around. That's kind of neat. So you can put a clump on there and then just kind of work it around. And it kind of like stretches out and spreads out over your area. Man, it's hard to keep where you want it, that's for sure. It's actually almost looking forward to it setting up a little bit so we can kind of keep it where we need it to be. We got a little spot over here at the end. Okay, so yeah, that ended up being kind of fun. So we got that stuff drying, got all in there. It was kind of crazy at the bottom of the bowl when I was doing the other side. It's like I could see that it was getting kind of firm. I'm like, okay, it's getting nice and firm a little bit. It's thickening up a little bit, and all of a sudden, within like 2 seconds, it went from kind of thickening up to like a Jello mold. Just like thick. In like 2 seconds, it was crazy. So if you think you're getting close to being to it drying up, make sure you get done quick because it's a quick process once it starts hardening. So now what I'm doing here is I'm making sure the back of this is nice and prepared for the patch. My 80 grit. I'm just gonna. There was some rubber like weather stripping like padding on there to not scratch the truck. So I just peeled it from like here to here. And then I'll just kind of lightly sand it a little bit just to make sure we don't have that crap on there. Make sure we got a good spot to connect the fiberglass. Probably doesn't take much because it's just bare fiberglass on the other side. It's not painted or anything. So we'll call that good. And then I do the same thing in the front. Some people that are smart might choose to get a sanding block. It might make it a little easier. I don't know. I don't claim to be the smartest in all my approaches. You see where it's starting to get dark there, from my understanding, and that's gone through the paint. And I guess to get to the gel coat, so that's where where that resin's gonna adhere nicely to. Then we get a nice little patch around the area so that resin can grab on and really be strong for us. Imagine you don't want to overdo it and make it all wavy and stuff, so we'll just kind of get that nice little open spot here a little bit more. Trying to bring this level up a little bit. We can kind of blend it all in. Also, another thing too is that if you have kind of goes without saying, it's kind of even stupid for me to bring it up because it's pretty obvious, but if you got some cool tools like a DA sander and some cool sanding tools, you might be smart to use that rather than do it by hand. Might be a heck of a lot easier. I don't have a big enough air compressor to run a decent DA sander. Sometime I will, but I don't now. So for now, we do it the old-fashioned way. I'm kind of liking that. I mean, you could probably spread it out even more, but I'm not going to. I'm kind of liking that. I think it's going to be good. So now I'm going to get we're going to go in here with our acetone again, get it nice and clean, get all that dust off there. Oh, another thing too, I just realized, there's a bunch of little stress cracks through here that were associated to this that I didn't see before. So I'm actually going to go back and grind these little guys out. So I'm going to do that. So we got it all cleaned up. I went through the acetone and all that stuff. So the next step is going to be getting this mat to where we want it to be. So I think about that wide. Now they say it's nice to have these fibers kind of work their way out. You don't want a real clean edge like that because it makes it harder to blend in and all that stuff. Now on this back side with this, I'm not worried about that. That's going to go up in there. That's going to be just fine. I'm not worried about it. So I'm going to do that. And then I'm just going to I'm going to tear it, not cut it. I'm going to tear this piece, and I'm going to do it right there like that for my first piece. Now, after that, then I'll have some other pieces that are going to go on top of it. Well, let's see. How are we going to do this? We'll do that, and then we'll do another one on the back of it, and then we'll do some on the front of it, I guess. I don't know. We might have to cut this little section out right here. Make one kind of fit nicely in there, and then we could do some on top of it. So first of all, I'm going to put it in the resin, and I'm going to brush. I can't really see on that. Hopefully it turned out good. Too lazy to get over there and really look at it. So we'll just put a bunch on there. We'll put a bunch on here. Then I'm going to go ahead and put my first piece on here. You can tell it's sticking nicely. I'm going to get on here and I don't know how stupid this is doing it without being able to see it on the other side. This might be the really dumb way to do it. But it seems like it's doing okay. Get the resin all impregnated. Kind of a pain. That looks like crap. Yeah, I realized that. So I put the cardboard back behind it because I couldn't get it to hold its shape otherwise, which we saw that. And then the cardboard started sliding down, so I had to clamp it in place. I believe I may not have put enough hardener in because it's staying not hard for a long time. I think it's starting to harden up now, but it's taken longer than last time. So it looks like a mess now. My hope is that after it's all dry, I can go through and cut that and shape it, and I might have to add a little bit more. I don't know, we'll see. But this stuff's turning out, it's looking good. It's getting dry. Still not dry yet, but might have to put a little bit more in there, just fill it in a little bit more. So my understanding is once you have some of that in there, if it's still a little bit low, then you can use the body filler once you have the resin in there. To get the imperfections out or to bring it up just to be perfect, but you want to use the resin to get as close as possible. So I might use a little bit more resin, get a little closer here, but this I'll use a little bit more. We'll see. After I sand it down, we'll be able to really tell, but I'm gonna let it dry. They said the best practice is let it dry real well. So it's all dried, looking good. It's actually really freaking sturdy, man. It's nice. All the stuff is super dry, so I got my little body saw here. I'm just going to cut off all that excess, and then we can perfect all this stuff and see where we're going to go from here. So I was being kind of careful about it because I don't want to risk taking too much off, going too high. So if there's extra, if it comes down a little bit, I can always perfect it. But if I freaking go in there again, I'm going to have to restart again. So I was just playing it safe on that action. Okay, so we got that on. Now I got my little sanding block here. So I need a grit. I'm going to get it down to a realistic straight line. I might need to get my longer one. I don't know. We'll see. And we're going to start taking off all this excess and cleaning it up so we can start preparing for, I guess, our next layup. Yeah, I think we'll do another layup, or yeah, we'll see.
Alright, I have no wiggle there. We are straight. I see no gap and there's no wiggle back and forth, so we are literally dead straight right there. That is beautiful. Oh, I like that. That's awesome, man. Seems like I see a tiny bit of gap there. Actually, that's right there. Yeah. Yep, we got it. I love it. This is fun. I like this. It's gratifying seeing all it come together like that. And also, it definitely seems like this 80 grit is the good way to go right now. It's doing really good. It's making pretty quick work of what we're doing. But it just seems really working out good. Man. Oh gosh, it feels like from the back. From the back, I can't even feel. Huh. Now there's like a chunk of cardboard back here, and it's kind of weird because I can't tell if it's like in the fiberglass. I don't want to like peel it off and peel off the whole fiberglass patch part we did. So I don't know. That could have been done better, I guess. Like I said, the planning that went into that was not ideal, I think. I could have done a little better. So, but this is coming out good. I'm really happy with the results so far. So we'll have to hit we'll have to hit it again and bring that level up, but for right now, I'm just going to work on it and I'll update you guys. I'm really happy with the results so far. So we'll have to hit we'll have to hit it again and bring that level up, but
okay, so we're back at it. So I sanded it down quite a bit. And I think I told you before on this one there on the backside, some of that cardboard, there was like a flap or like a little, there was something that wasn't secure. It wasn't quite right. And I couldn't just leave it like that. It just bothered me too much. So I just tore it out and it ended up making just a little crack right there. Other than that, it was okay. But I didn't want that little crack there. I'm doing it right. I'm going to go through I'm not going to freaking do it half-ass. So I just cut this whole little section out right here where anything that was even possibility of delaminating or not being strong enough. And then I redid everything. And then not only that, but this wasn't up to the level yet. So I pumped it up. I did another thing all the way across here. So when it's done, it will be higher than the original level. So I just sand it down to where it's supposed to be, and we'll be good with that. I also re-hit that because that was a little low, and this was kind of not great. Also on the other side, I redid a little bit, but that's it. So I think with that will be the last of the any of the resin we're going to put on. So from now on, I think we're good. We'll sand down after this dries and body filler, and then I'm going to have to sand all that. But that's going to be another episode. So this is the fiberglassing part of it. The last part of this fiberglassing video will be sanding it down. Hopefully I can get time to... Alright, our stuff's just about dry here. Well, it's been drying for quite a while, so it's pretty dry. It's pretty dry. So I'm just going to show you over here real quick. So over here was pretty good. Touch this up a little bit. I've already sanded it all down. It's good to go. There was a little tiny lip right here that was needed to be done, and same right here, just a little bit. And then this was the big one on this side. This had a crack just like the other one did. And oh man, it just turned out so perfect. There's a couple of low spots in there, but that's okay. I'm gonna get that with my filler. But it's like, man, it's so strong and sturdy. And then filled in this little edge right here. Turned out so good, man. When I smooth that out and put some paint on that, it's gonna look fantastic. It's gonna look brand new again. So I still got all this stuff to do over here, but it's all dry, so we're gonna get to it right now. The last portion of this video, sanding and finishing.
Off, made it nice and pretty. Now we're freaking good to go. It's beautiful back here. That's a good, solid repair right there. So now it's just a matter of sanding off all the excess material, all the excess resin.
Okay, we're all squared away. So fixed all this stuff. Get a good look at that. This is actually almost completely flat now. I barely even need any filler there. Look at that. That is so much nicer looking than it was. Dang, so this is my first time, like I've said many times, and I gotta say, man, it's funner than I thought it would be. It's not as hard as I thought it would be. It is so messy. Expect your shop is going to look like crap at the end of the day, because there's going to be dust everywhere, resin dripped everywhere, but I still have, yeah, see, look at that. Everything came out so awesome. I'm so excited. This could have had a little bit more resin in it, but honestly, it's still fine. I'll put the filler in there. It's going to be fine. But squared away that corner right there. Sorry, the lighting's kind of crap, but this is it. I'm done. I'm done with fiberglass work. So the next one will be prepping for paint. It'll be I don't know if you can see, but it's a bit scratched on here. So we're going to take some 80 grit. Get some of these gnarly things out with 80 grit, and then we'll move up the line to the finer grit and get it all ready to paint. I'll try to work on it this week. I would love to be able to be painting this thing next weekend, because I got a camping trip or a little overlanding trip we're planning on going on in a couple weeks, and I want to have this thing on my truck. So I'm going to be procuring glass, and I actually already took the frame to the glass shop, and they have it right now, so I should be getting an estimate on glass tomorrow. And so there's two possibilities of things that are going to happen. One is the glass is reasonable price, and we will replace that one, and we'll replace that one, and we'll be cool. Two, the glass is going to be crazy expensive, in which case we'll replace that one because I don't want to use plexiglass. And we're going to go a different route with these ones if that's the case, which it has to be pretty expensive for it to happen, but this is what we're going to do if I can't get the glass for a reasonable price. We are going to take a piece of aluminum. I think aluminum would be the logical choice. The same width as the window would be. Or another possibility would be to get the really thin kind and back it with something cheap. But nonetheless, not blackout, but just block out that window. It would be done very nicely. It's going to be painted to match. They have this as an option. A lot of I've seen some overlanding rigs, Expedition Overland, their Tacoma that they ran, the 13, had that kind. It had just the flat panel, fold up setup, and I don't like it as much. I'd rather have the windows, but if I have to go that way, I'm not going to be super upset because I think it does look pretty good too. But if I'm going to be camping back there for a little bit before I get my rooftop tent, I would like to have some regular windows and stuff, but we'll see however it works out. So this window, I think you've seen before, is good. So I just took it out so we could do the painting. So yeah, next step will be sanding and paint prep. Thanks for watching. Hola! All right, here we are back with another episode with this canopy that I have here. So we've straightened out the aluminum, and the last episode we did fiberglass work, and so now it's all about paint prep, and I will have it painted by the end of this weekend. It's supposed to be raining for the next couple weekends, and I want to use this in about 2 weekends, so I'm going to be completely done with it. So I have some good news. It started out as potentially bad news, and then it went better. So this window right here and this back window right here, when I started calling around for glass places, one after another said, as soon as they heard me say Canopy or Camper Shell, they said, nope, we don't do them. There's nothing we can help you with. Sorry, go away. And so I was getting pretty discouraged because I called Lear, or a Lear distributor, and they wanted $250 for this, and they wanted $300 for this, which is actually cheaper by a fair margin than some of the ones I've seen. I've seen them as high as $500. And one of the reasons why is because they sell the whole assembly. They will not just sell the glass. It's the whole assembly. So I eventually did find a glass place in downtown Portland called Apple Auto Glass, and the guy was like willing to try. He's like, usually we don't do that, but bring it in, we'll try. So I brought it in. They ended up being extremely cool, like just very awesome. So originally they still said they wouldn't do anything with the side one, but they said they would try with the back one. So I took the back one in. They were totally cool. Took a bit, but I got a price on it, and originally he was saying like $200, which scared me, and I was not happy about that. But what choice do I have, right? Because I started looking at the plexiglass, and there's that other one that's just like plexiglass, like Lexon or something like that, and it's just not something I want to put in here. So what the plan was when I thought it was going to be expensive was I was going to do this one in whatever glass it was, however expensive as it was, because I wanted this being glass, and I wanted this to be glass too, but bottom line is, if it was that expensive, I wasn't going to put it into it. So I was actually going to make some fiberglass panels, and which means I would have to do it for this side and that side, make fiberglass panels that I could paint, and it would just be closed off, which would have a certain purpose, because then people wouldn't be able to look in there and see my stuff, and it wouldn't get broken again. I know many come that way, and they do look nice. They have a little bit more of a utilitarian look than like a, you know, just a clean, like whatever look. So I wanted glass, but bottom line is they took a while, and eventually they did come through, and they came through with a decent price. So if I would have got tinted, it would have been way too expensive, but I got clear, that glass and that glass. So that one was $125, and this one was $95. I can handle that. So also what I did was I went and bought some tint so I could match it to that other window, because definitely want tinted windows. We do not want people looking inside there. And I had actually considered maybe tinting the other one further and just do all of them like limo tint. So we'll see how that goes as time goes on. I have taken this off and ordered it, just so anyone who knows, this is just like a sticky, like a 3M double stick stuff that goes down here, and that's all that holds that on. It does well. It was hard to take off, but so we got glass. That's exciting for me. We have it ordered. It'll be here next week, and so now I can just focus on painting and getting this thing ready. So the first step in that is I'm going to take the 80 grit, and I'm going to get this deep stuff out like that. There's a lot of deep scratches in this, and I'm going to just work them out. I've already done a couple little ones here and there, and I'm just going to work these deep scratches out, and then after I get them worked out, then I can come back with a finer sandpaper and smooth it all down, and then the next step will be the body filler and then the glazing putty to make sure everything is absolutely beautiful and gorgeous and ready to go.